Welcome back to America's Forum. Certainly, as we chronicled earlier in this program, a whole lot is going on in Washington, but there is something that could occur outside of Washington that merits our consideration. Speaking of the nation's capital, let's go to Newsmax Washington and welcome in our good friend John Gizzi. And Brother John today, you see, is fedora-less so that he can just show that he is not follically challenged. So, Brother Gizzi, with that silver hair denoting wisdom, give us some wisdom on a movement that is gaining popularity, a notion of a, quote, convention of states.
Well, this is a movement which one has heard a lot of talk about, and former Senator Tom Coburn of Oklahoma is very active in this, and that is to have 3/4 of the states call for a constitutional convention, at which point they can propose amendments to the Constitution that the states would then deal with. In other words, it would bypass the Congress of the United States, and this would include, among other things, measures that would balance the budget. Now, it has been said by many people, including Senator Coburn's fellow conservatives, that a constitutional convention would be a runaway convention, a renegade body that might just toss out the whole body of governance that we've had in the United States for more than 200 years. Nothing could be further from the truth. It must follow a careful mandate, and it must deal only with what is on its agenda at the time. But yet, the fear-mongering starts on this, and the nervous Nellies are heard. Nonetheless, the movement is catching fire.
And one of the reasons the movement is gaining currency is because of the frustration with the Congress of the United States, frustration for many conservatives typified by the actions of John Boehner yesterday. As soon as the joint session was over, he dropped the gavel, and then the House voted a, quote, clean bill, a clean funding bill for Homeland Security. Just one major problem for a lot of folks. It funds the president's unconstitutional amnesty. So that frustration with the Congress is genuine, and it's not going away.
No, it's not going away. But remember, and Senator Coburn, in his years in the House, and he was a classmate of yours, J.D., as well as in the United States Senate, was first and foremost a fiscal hawk. He believed in getting America's house in order and grew very frustrated by continuing resolutions, by voting to raise the debt. And he feels that if Congress cannot adequately grapple with these problems and conquer them, let a constitutional convention do it. I might add that I don't understand the fury about this. Mark Twain once said that history doesn't repeat itself, but sometimes it rhymes. In the late 1960s, Senator Everett Dirksen of Illinois, the Republican leader of the Senate, organized a movement to call a constitutional convention with the specific purpose of overturning the Supreme Court's one-man, one-vote ruling that entirely upended the way we elect state legislators in this country. And guess what? It came within one state of the required 3/4 of having a constitutional convention. There was no argument about that then on the right or among many constitutional scholars.
So we will see what Dr. Coburn and others will do with their proposal to move forward with a convention of states. I'm a little more curious, given what happened yesterday in the House, what we may see within the GOP conference in the House of Representatives. Will John Boehner be able to hang on to his job, or is frustration among conservatives reached the boiling point?
JD, as I often tell you, I don't opine for Newsmax. I am not a member of the punditocracy. I'm a reporter. And this is what I report, and sometimes it's not to the liking of you or other people.
It's okay. We just, like Jack Webb would say, Gizzi, just the facts, brother. Give us just what you see from your reportorial duties there.
Whatever the frustration with John Boehner, the 25 votes for other candidates for Speaker, notwithstanding from Republicans, he is genuinely liked by the colleagues he served with, who now number the most among House Republicans since 1928. He will be Speaker as long as he wants. Now, my prediction is he will not try to perpetuate his tenure as Speaker, as, say, the late Democrat Sam Rayburn did, who served for a record 19 years wielding the gavel. I think it'll be a shorter tenure and he'll retire, but it will be at a time and place of his own choosing.
In the 2 minutes that remain right now, Gizzi, the arguments heard today in the Obamacare case there at the Supreme Court, and of course it'll be a few weeks before we get a decision. But what are the implications of the High Court hearing Burwell v. King today?
Well, very simply, in the most dramatic and far-reaching of scenarios, the Supreme Court could rule that the fact that some states have subsidies, those in which the federal government calls the shots, and others do not, where they have a state exchange, denotes inequality under the law, and that could lead to either striking down the Affordable Health Care Act entirely, or very possibly calling many who've obtained health care programs on these exchanges to go elsewhere. And that would open the door for Republicans and to actually show they have an alternative plan. On the other hand, they could simply tell the exchanges to straighten out the funding mechanism and make it equal. Again, as someone who had pre-written a story that the Supreme Court would not uphold the constitutionality of Obamacare in 12 and mercifully did not send it in, I'm not making any predictions.
Fair enough. You don't have to make predictions on the court, but I got to ask you about Hillary. 1 minute left. Hillary, yes, with those personal emails, a personal email account during her entire tenure as Secretary of State. Is she in hot water, and will that cost her a run for the presidency? We've got about 45 seconds.
Let's just say this. I was stunned yesterday to go right to the White House after leaving Capitol Hill and watching Prime Minister Netanyahu. I expected a point-by-point rebuttal of the Prime Minister's eloquent speech before Congress from the administration spokesman and the questions to follow it. What dominated the questioning? Hillary's personal email account. She defeated Netanyahu in terms of questions on the day he made the speech everyone awaited. That should give you a preview of the future. The shape of things to come is there's more out there.
And there is more coming up here on America's Forum. John Gizzi, we thank you for your time. We'll step aside now for a Newsmax Now update.